Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm your friendly neighborhood finance professor. And what's going on, El Haj? I see you in there. And Terry Cobb, how you doing? All right, so let's talk about Tisha Campbell. Let's jump into this conversation. And you guys know this platform is Black First. I got to make sure I say that we are the Black financial channel. We're not the financial channel that happens to be Black. We are the Black channel that happens to be financial. So anyway, here's what I saw, and it got my attention. And you guys know when I see something, I see life as a big classroom. Life as a big university. I saw this Tisha Campbell story, and I said, this is really fascinating to me. And I think it's a great tale and a great lesson in terms of us understanding how economics works, how money works. So Tisha Campbell, y'all know her from Martin. She was a really talented actress. She still is. She still looks young and beautiful. She looks like she could go out there and do a lot of great things. And I'm really happy for her for that. But something happened over the last 25 years. Something weird happened since the days of Martin, in which Tisha Campbell, through her marriage to Dwayne Martin, ended up in this weird situation where she's now on these TV shows, basically saying that she has $7 to her name. That's a little bit strange to me, and that piqued up my Dr. Boyce ears a little bit. Not my Uncle Boyce. A little bit of Uncle Boyce is in here, but Dr. Boyce, his ears piqued up because he started thinking about the fact that you have so many of these stories. It's very common to hear stories of Black celebrities who had it all, who we thought were doing extremely well, and it turned out that they weren't doing so well, right? There's so many stories of Black celebrities that we think are on top of the world, that are making a ton of money, and they're just not. And so one of the things I want to really sort of bring to your attention, and this is no diss on Tisha Campbell at all. I think Tisha Campbell's awesome. You got to stop believing that everything that glitters is gold, right? That's the first thought in terms of my Dr. Boyce thought of the day is all that glitters ain't gold. In fact, sometimes if it glitters too shiny, if it's shining too hard, then it's probably fake gold. A lot of people love to shine with fake gold. They love to put on that cubic zirconia and that stuff that'll make your neck turn green, and they shine brighter than you, and you really think they're doing really well, when really what you're seeing is the illusion of debt. Debt allows you to pull the ultimate fake news on your friends and family and to make them think that you're doing well when you're not. And the thing about it is that we have culture that pushes celebrities to do this. We have culture that pushes celebrities, not just Tisha Campbell, but many others, to give the impression that money ain't nothing but a thing, that money's coming from everywhere. And if you don't understand the source of that money and the stability of that source and the preservation of that money, then it can lead to a lot of problems. So here's what Tisha has been saying. Tisha Campbell's doing some interviews, and she mentioned that she has $7 to her name. She was married to Dwayne Martin for about 25 years. You remember him? He was in that Tupac movie where they were playing basketball. I forgot. Somebody tell me the name of the movie. I can't remember what it's called. But I know he's a good actor, right? He's cool. And also she mentioned, as part of her comeback story, that that she went through years of emotional, physical, and financial abuse from Martin. And I thought that was interesting. And I have a little bit to say about that. And so when I did a little bit of research, first thing I researched was I looked it up, and Tisha Campbell has been around for a minute. She looks young and beautiful, but Tisha Campbell's about 52 years old, right? Which is still young. I mean, if you compare that to like a 70-year-old, but it's not young. You compare it to a 25-year-old, right? So it's really sad and scary and depressing to kind of have these sorts of problems at 52 years old when you had all this money when you were in your 20s. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't come back from that. My Uncle Charles, God rest his soul, he at 50 was flat on his back financially. We talked about it, and I said, look, you can do this. Just keep going, try again. And he tried again. And before he died in his 60s, he had taken good care of his family. He rebuilt his credit. They just bought a house, and now his wife and child are millionaires. They literally are millionaires because Uncle Charles used those last 15 years of his life in the right way. God bless Uncle Charles. Shout out to Uncle Charles. All right, so you can come back from this, right? But the question is, why do you have to? Why are so many of our celebrities in a position where they have to emerge as some sort of Lifetime movie comeback story instead of being a success story that lasts forever? Now, there are lots of success stories out there. The success stories are out there. They just don't get as much attention as the comeback stories. And so I noticed that in 2018, that Tisha and her husband, Dwayne, filed bankruptcy with debts of about $15 million. So it sounds like too much debt. The financial doctor in me is seeing that maybe they use debt, the power of debt, in a way that that became very dangerous and very toxic. And that cost them a lot of problems. And also, I saw they had a messy divorce, pretty messy divorce, a lot of accusations. She was claiming that Dwayne did some crazy stuff with the money. I don't know if that's true or not. I can say as a Black man, I just need little things that people don't believe in called proof. Maybe you call me crazy, but I'm not a Black man who just believes that a Black man or a Black woman did something wrong just because somebody said it. I'm a Black man who's seen enough of these stories that say my life is a mess. I screwed it all up. My bank account's messed up, and it's his fault. He did it. He abused me emotionally. Well, what did he do? Well, he was just mean to me. No, well, yeah. But you know what? We live in a world that believes in this thing called equality. equality, right? And equality says that not only do you get the credit for the great things you do, but you must take responsibility for the bad things you do, right? So you get credit. You can't just take credit for the good stuff and then say, well, the bad stuff was somebody else's fault. No, you got to take the good and the bad. That's what equality means, right? So I don't really know who was abusing who. All I do know, I can say that financial abuse is a very real thing. Financial abuse does happen in relationships. I don't know if it happened in this one. It sounds like everybody was kind of making some crazy choices because they were married. There were two peas in the pod for 25, 26 years. So, but I can say financial abuse does occur. I can also say that different forms of physical and emotional abuse occurs. And that also speaks to being thoughtful about who you marry in the first place, because that merger, that big marriage that you have with another person is huge in terms of determining your economic life. If you merge lives with a person who is financially irresponsible, then you can just kiss your black butt goodbye, because they're going to ruin everything that you ever built. They literally, when the further forward you go, the more they're going to go backward. The more you save, the more they're going to spend. The more you invest, the more they're going to take out. You're going to put the money in the account. They're going to come right behind you and take it out and go to the Gucci store, right? So cultural values, in terms of matching the values of the person you marry, is really important. Now, I don't know who the spender was in this relationship between Keisha and Dwayne. I do know this, though, that when you talk about income and wealth, first of all, income and wealth are not the same thing. A lot of people get those two things mixed up. Income is how much money you make. Wealth is how much money you keep, right? So ladies, for example, if I were you, if you like dudes that have money, that's fine. Nothing wrong with appreciating men that have money. Women are biologically wired to look for men that can provide security. A man who makes $100,000 a year is not nearly as successful or impressive as a man who has invested or saved $100,000 a year. A man who has $100,000 a year on his paycheck is not nearly as impressive as a man who has $100,000 in his portfolio. The man who has $100,000 on his paycheck has proven that he has the ability to make money. The man with $100,000 in his portfolio has proven that he has the ability to keep money. So one man has great income earning potential. The other man has great ability to provide financial security for himself and for others. So when you look at Hollywood, one of the craziest things about Hollywood is this really interesting is this. A lot of black celebrities go to Hollywood and they're surrounded by all these white people that give them these wonderful jobs, paying them all this money, and they become heavily dependent on this money. And they get to the point where, because their income is high, they think they have financial security. But I'm sorry, I'm a black man first, a finance professor second. And honestly, you know what? I don't trust those people. I don't trust those people in Hollywood. I don't believe those people are going to make you secure. I don't believe those people are really going to have your back. So to me, you got to be out there with one eye open. You got to always be ready for that day where they cancel your black butt. Because you are, to some extent, a high paid sharecropper. You are in a space where they're going to hire you for a job and they're going to use you as long as they need you. And when they get done with you, they're going to throw you right back out there. So if you go pile up a bunch of debt, here's where I'm going with this. You pile up a bunch of debt, right? And that debt is $10, $15 million. And you believe you're going to pay back this $10, $15 million with income you're going to earn from your oppressor. Then you have pretty much shot yourself straight in the ass with that ridiculous financial decision, because you're going to end up in a situation where if they cut you off, if they decide that you ain't popping no more, if they decide to cancel you, if they decide that you done got a little too black on the job, y'all know how it is, right? You will be in a position where you're financially stuck. You see, debt is it can be a beautiful thing if you're using it in a healthy way. But debt is think about it like manure, right? Manure can be wonderful because it can grow flowers and plants and stuff like that. But otherwise, manure is just a pile of crap. Right. So and it stinks, and it's not something you want to have, right? Unless you're using it for a productive purpose. So debt is like financial manure, right? Debt can be used in a constructive way to grow billion-dollar companies. Debt can be used in a constructive way to get you your first home so you can actually own an asset. Debt can even be used to invest in the stock market and some other places, right? But if you are compiling debt because you need to go to San Tropez on vacation every year and you got to drop no less than $50,000 every time you go, if you're trying to floss for your friends, or you're taking on debt because you must have the new Aston Martin, excuse me, that just came out, or the new Bentley, or you got to have Gucci and Louis and whatever European brand you want to slap on your butt, then that kind of debt is crap. That is financial crap. That is financial manure. So you are basically covering your body in your financial body in financial manure. And then eventually all those chickens go come home to roost. Eventually your whole financial situation will stink if you get to the point where you cannot go back and clean up your mess, right? I'm trying not to cuss here. I'm probably